What if I told you that the reason your glutes feel flat, soft, and completely switched off has nothing to do with how old you are, and it has nothing to do with how many exercises you're doing? In fact, if you're over 60 and you've been doing squats trying to fix this problem, there's a very real chance you've been making it worse without ever knowing it. Here's what most people don't understand. After 60, your glutes don't weaken because your body gave up on you. They weaken because they go quiet. They stop receiving the signal. And the longer that goes on, the harder everything else becomes. Getting out of a chair, climbing stairs, even just walking without feeling unstable on your feet. But here's what nobody talks about. That signal can be turned back on. And it doesn't require squats, gym equipment, or hours of your day. Today, I'm going to show you 5 simple exercises that do exactly that. They wake your glutes back up, rebuild their strength, and restore that rounder, more supported shape safely, gently, and in a way that actually works after 60. Stay with me, because the first exercise alone will completely change how you think about your glutes. Let's start with why this is actually happening. Most people assume that flat or weak glutes are just a natural part of getting older. And yes, some muscle changes do come with age, but the real story is a little more specific than that. Your glutes are the largest muscle group in your body. They're responsible for extending your hips, stabilizing your pelvis, and creating that lifted, supported look from behind. But they're also one of the first muscles to stop firing properly when your daily movement patterns change. Think about it. As the years go on, many of us spend more time sitting, more time resting, moving a little less, and gradually, almost invisibly, the brain starts sending weaker and weaker signals to the glutes. This is called gluteal amnesia. And yes, that's the real clinical name for it. Your glutes don't disappear, they just forget how to do their job. And when that happens, other muscles step in to fill the gap. Your lower back, your thighs, your hip flexors, they all start overcompensating, and that's when things start to feel off. You feel tightness in your back, weakness in your hips, a general feeling of instability that you can't quite explain. A study published in the Journal of Physical Therapy Science found that reduced gluteal activation was directly associated with lower back pain, hip instability, and altered gait patterns in older adults. In plain language, when your glutes stop working properly, your whole body feels the cost. But here's what gives me hope, and what should give you hope too. Muscles respond. Even after years of being quiet, the right movements done consistently can restore that connection. And the results aren't just cosmetic. When your glutes come back online, your posture improves, your balance improves, the strain on your back and knees reduces, and yes, the shape comes back too. So let's talk about how we actually do that. Before we get into the exercises, I want you to understand the 3 things your glutes need, because this is why these 5 movements were chosen specifically. First, reactivation. Your glutes need to be reminded how to fire. Before they can grow stronger, they need to reconnect with your nervous system. Without this step, you can work out for months and barely feel them. Second, strength. Once that connection is restored, your glutes need progressive, safe loading to rebuild their capacity. Not heavy weights, not intense effort, just consistent, controlled movement. Third, shape. Specific movements target different areas, the upper glutes, the outer glutes, the deep stabilizers. Training all of these is what creates a rounder, fuller, more lifted appearance, not just one part of it. The 5 exercises you're about to see address all 3 in sequence. They're designed not as random movements, but as a system. And that's the difference between doing exercises and actually getting results. Let's start with the one exercise that most people over 60 have never tried, and the one that makes everything else possible. Exercise number 1, the glute bridge, your reactivation foundation. If there is one movement that wakes up the glutes more directly than anything else, it's this one. And the reason it works so well for people over 60 is simple. It removes everything that gets in the way. No balance required. No pressure on the knees. No confusion about where the work should be felt. Lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, about hip width apart. Your arms rest by your sides. Take a slow breath in. Now, as you breathe out, gently press your feet into the floor and lift your hips upward. Don't rush this. Think about peeling your spine off the floor one segment at a time. At the top, your body should form a straight diagonal line from your shoulders to your knees. And here is the moment that matters most. Pause. Squeeze your glutes firmly. Hold that contraction for 2 full seconds. Then lower slowly, in control, all the way back down. Repeat for 10 to 12 repetitions. A common mistake is rushing through the movement and missing the contraction entirely. Another is pushing up through the lower back instead of the glutes. You'll know you're doing it right when you feel that firm squeeze high in your hips, not pressure in your spine. This is the exercise that turns the signal back on. And once that happens, everything else in this routine becomes more effective. Exercise number 2, the single leg glute bridge. restoring balance. Here's something most people don't realize about their glutes. One side is almost always weaker than the other. After years of favoring one leg, sitting slightly crooked, or just moving through life in the ways we all do, imbalances build up quietly, and over time they show. One hip looks flatter, one side of your lower back feels tighter, one leg feels less stable when you're walking. This is the exercise that begins to fix it. Start in the same position as before, lying on your back, feet flat, knees bent. Now, lift one foot off the floor and extend that leg gently in front of you. Your other foot remains firmly planted. Press through the foot that's on the floor and lift your hips the same way as before. Pause at the top, squeeze your glute, hold for 2 seconds, then lower with control, and repeat for 8 to 10 repetitions before switching sides. A common mistake is compensating with the lower back or tilting the pelvis to one side to make the lift easier. Focus on keeping your hips level throughout. Both sides of your pelvis should stay square to the ceiling. The right feeling is a deep, targeted effort in the glute of the working leg, especially as your hips reach the top. Do this consistently, and that side-to-side imbalance will begin to even out. Exercise number 3, the standing hip hinge, the movement that unlocks everything. Now we move upright, and this is where a lot of people make the most common mistake in all of lower body training. They bend at the knees when they should be hinging at the hips. Here's why that matters. Your glutes are hip extensors. They're designed to drive your hips forward, not to bend and straighten your knees. If you've been doing squats and barely feeling your glutes, this is almost certainly why. The hip hinge is the foundation movement that teaches your glutes what they're supposed to be doing. Stand with your feet about hip-width apart, soft bend in the knees, hands resting gently on the front of your thighs. Take a breath in. Now, push your hips back, not down. Think of reaching your hips toward the wall behind you. Let your hands slide down your thighs as your torso naturally tips forward. Your back stays flat, your knees stay soft but still. You should feel a gentle stretch in the back of your legs. Then press your feet into the floor and drive your hips forward to stand tall. At the top, give your glutes a firm squeeze and hold for 1 to 2 seconds. Repeat for 10 to 12 slow, controlled repetitions. The right feeling is a stretch in the hamstrings on the way back and a strong glute contraction on the way forward. If you're feeling this primarily in your thighs or lower back, focus more on pushing your hips backward, not bending your knees. Once this movement feels natural, it becomes the most powerful tool you have for rebuilding glute strength at home. Exercise number 4, the side-lying clamshell, building the outer shape. If you've ever noticed that your hips look flat from the side or felt unstable when standing on one leg, this is the exercise that addresses it directly. The outer portion of your glutes, called the gluteus medius, is one of the most undertrained muscles in older adults. And when it's weak, it shows in the shape of your hips, in your balance, even in the way you walk. Lie on your side with your hips stacked and your knees bent at roughly a 45-degree angle. Your head rests comfortably on your lower arm. Now, keeping your feet together, slowly lift your top knee upward like a clamshell opening. Lift as high as you can without your pelvis rolling backward. Pause at the top. Hold for 1 to 2 seconds. Feel the effort in the outer side of your hip, then lower slowly with control. Perform 12 to 15 repetitions on this side, then turn over and repeat. A common mistake is letting the pelvis rock backward as the knee rises. That rotation takes the work away from the glute and puts it into the lower back. Keep your hips stacked, your core gently engaged, and let the outer hip do the lifting. This one exercise, done consistently, will begin to change the silhouette of your hips in ways that nothing else quite replicates. Exercise number 5, the kneeling hip extension, isolating and activating completely. This is the exercise that most people have never tried, and in many cases, it's the one that makes the biggest difference. Because here's what makes it different from everything else in this routine. It isolates the glute completely. No momentum, no balance challenge, no compensation from your thighs or lower back. Just your glute doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Start on all fours, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips. Your back is flat and your core is gently engaged. Place a cushion under your knees for comfort if needed. Now, keeping your knee bent at a right angle, slowly extend one leg straight back and upward. Think about pressing the sole of your foot toward the ceiling. Your hips stay square, your lower back doesn't arch. Pause at the top and squeeze your glute firmly. Hold for 2 seconds, then lower with control. Repeat for 10 to 12 repetitions before switching sides. A common mistake is arching the lower back to get the leg higher. That's your body cheating, and it means the glute isn't doing the work. Keep the range of movement comfortable and focus entirely on that squeeze at the top. When done correctly, this is the clearest glute contraction most people over 60 have felt in years. And that feeling, that's your body relearning something it had forgotten. These 5 exercises are not random. The glute bridge restores the basic firing pattern, that essential brain-to-muscle connection your glutes need to work at all. The single-leg glute bridge corrects the imbalances that develop silently over years of daily life. The hip hinge teaches your body to use your glutes the way they were always designed, as your primary hip driver. The clamshell targets the outer portion of your glutes that shapes your hips from the side, and the kneeling hip extension isolates and fully activates the glute, removing every opportunity for compensation. Together, they cover reactivation, strength, and shape, all 3 pillars, in one simple routine. You don't need a gym. You don't need equipment, and you don't need to push through pain or exhaust yourself. What you need is 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, moving slowly and with full attention on where the work is being felt. Start with 1 set of each exercise. As the weeks go on and the movements start to feel more natural, build to 2 sets. The weight of progress here isn't measured in kilograms. It's measured in how clearly you can feel your glutes working with every single rep. I want to leave you with something that I think matters more than any exercise. After 60, it's very easy to accept that certain things are just the way they are now, that the flatness is permanent, that the weakness is just aging, that the shape you once had is simply gone. But your body doesn't think in those terms. Your muscles respond to the right signals regardless of age, not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, patiently, and in ways that are genuinely meaningful. The first things you'll notice won't even be visual, they'll be functional. Getting up from a chair feels easier, climbing stairs feels more controlled, standing feels more stable, and then, quietly, the shape begins to come back too. If this video helped you understand something about your body that you didn't know before, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and tell me in the comments, which of these 5 exercises are you going to try first? I read every single comment, and I'd genuinely love to know where you're starting from, because the difference between feeling strong and feeling limited after 60 isn't age, it's motion, and it starts with 1 exercise. This content is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. If you have any existing health conditions, injuries, or concerns, please consult a qualified healthcare professional before starting any new exercise program. Always listen to your body and modify movements as needed to ensure safety, comfort, and proper form throughout your training.